I'm so happy, happy-go-lucky me. I just go my way, living every day. I don't worry.
Tonight, the veil thins. These aren't your grandma's bedtime ghost stories. These are the real ones. The ones whispered about in hushed voices, buried in police reports, scribbled in forgotten journals, or confessed at 3 a.m. when sleep won't come and the shadows won't leave. We're talking about haunted houses, where things crawl in the attic that shouldn't be there, spirits that follow you home, voices caught on tape when no one is speaking. This is the raw, bone-chilling truth behind the tales you hope aren't real, but they are. So grab a flashlight and maybe a friend and prepare yourself, because once you hear these stories, you can't unhear them. This is the Disasterpiece podcast, and these are our real ghost stories. Hi, everyone. I'm Paul.
Oh my God.
And I am
Did you
joined
just come up with
by...
that?
Do what?
Did you just come up with that, or was that like written down somewhere?
It was pre-written.
Oh, okay.
I wrote that. Um, but I am Paulie Allen. My screen says Paul Allen. Zoom is the one thing I forgot to change my name on. I am joined by none other than Miss Courtney Pid.
Frid? God.
I didn't say that on purpose.
Actually, my full last name is pronounced Piddington. It was shortened.
Gotcha.
Fun
My last
fact.
name isn't even Allen. I'm not as cool as
Wait,
shortening
what
my
is
name.
it?
My last name? My real last name is Hedrick.
That's pretty simple.
Not for most people, apparently. You want to know the craziest thing that I've been called as far as my last name goes? Somebody, I kid you not, thought that my name was Bedrock. And I have a picture to prove it because they wrote it on a pizza box.
My
And I
dad's
have it.
first name was supposed to be Stuart. Could you imagine if they called him Stu for short? And then you add my last
Oh,
name on there.
Lord.
Stupid.
that would
Oh
that would
man, that would
actually
have been
be funny.
terrible.
Sorry, the pizza box photo that I have is whenever they thought that our name was Head Rig. There's that
That
photo.
sounds
Oh,
like Hedwig from
oh,
Harry Potter.
it's in reverse for some unknown reason. But yeah, that's
I
supposed
can
to...
see it. It's actually straight ahead for me.
Oh, good. On my end, it's not for some unknown reason. Anyway, the ghost story. I hope that you enjoyed our ghost stories of people messing up our last names and shortening our last names, and me not even going by my last name anymore. That's the episode. Bye, everybody.
Hey, at least when you type in my last name, like the D and the S are really close together, like back to
Mm-hmm.
back.
Yeah.
So when I'm typing really fast, my name, like when I'm filling out anything or whatever for like anything, I'll type in PISS instead of DD.
Imagine if imagine if you did that on a
I
government
did that on
document.
yes, I did do that on
Oh,
a resume before.
next thing you know, that's actually your legal name.
Oh my God, that would suck.
That would be bad.
I'd pay like to get that changed instantly if it was Courtney Pitt. Oh my God.
That would be a scary story right there.
That would be so fucked. Pardon my
But
friend.
how fucking dare you cuss on my fucking podcast? How
It fucking slipped out.
the fucking audacity. We are already at the rated R level now.
Rated
um,
R, yes, for language.
but anywho, all joking aside, this episode, it's going to be the first part in a series that we do about real ghost stories.
Mm.
And I cannot wait to dig into this because it is a completely new topic for this podcast. It's not something that we have discussed in the previous episodes, but it still fits in with the horror theme. And
Mhm.
I mean, to be honest, I have no idea really where to begin with this because I think that we both, just from what we've already discussed, we both really have stories that stem all the way back to childhood days.
Yep. Yep.
So,
You
I
have
mean,
you have a bunch of them too from childhood?
oh yeah. I
Oh, I
mean,
gotta.
my first, this is how, if this is any indication of how fucked up my childhood was, my first memory is seeing something weird that wasn't actually there. So, my mother and I, whenever I was born, this was after my parents had divorced and all that fun shit. Um, my mom and I lived with my grandmother, and her home was very haunted, like very, very. And so, like the first, at least I think it is my first memory, um, because I remember like not being able to walk or talk or do any means of communication really. And I was like on my mom's chest and I looked to like the left or if you're like so the way that my grandma's house was set up, you went into the door immediately to your right, which is where I was looking down, was the hallway towards the second second biggest bedroom. To the left was the master bedroom, past the living room. Um, but I was looking towards that second bigger bedroom, and I remember just seeing like this black shape, like this like almost shadow looking shape in the doorway of that bedroom. Just as who knows? I could have even been less than a year old for all I know. I don't know how old I was at that moment in time, but that was like the first thing that I remember clear as day is seeing that. And I mean, that just set the tone for a lot of other experiences that I had in that house. Um, yeah. So, like I said,
That's
if that's any
you
indication of my childhood.
want me to start with mine?
Please.
Okay, so me and my twin sister, I think we were about 2 years old when this happened. I don't remember it, obviously. My parents did tell us about this story multiple times, and it gives me the chills like every time I even talk about it. So we were in this house in Oxford, Michigan, and I
Mhm.
don't know when it was built. I still have old pictures of it, and I should have fucking sent them to you so you could have threw them on here. Um, it was like this old brick house, and apparently it was super haunted. So like when my dad would be sleeping or whatever, the blankets would be like kind of pulled off of him. Or when he was
Mhm.
home alone, like the radio would turn on and start just blaring, or like the washer and dryer would start like turning on and shit like that. And so we started calling this ghost George, apparently. So,
Mhm.
and my sister's name is Kayla, by the way. So mine and Kayla's bedroom was upstairs in the attic. So it wasn't like an attic. Like they didn't throw us up here with like fucking insulation and stuff. It was a nice attic. And then their bedroom was downstairs. So I guess I woke up screaming my head off in the middle of the night. And I was known to have night terrors my entire childhood. I still have night terrors here and there. So my dad rushed up the stairs and he looked over. Kayla was fast asleep in her crib. I guess I was standing up in mine and I was pissed off and like terrified. So I was taking every single stuffed animal in my crib and I was taking it out and chucking it at the closet door at the same exact spot. So
Mhm.
my dad was like, "What the fuck?" And he went up to the closet door and he said it was like the temperature like instantly started just dropping. And he said that he could hear and he could feel it. There is something on the other side, like when you're pushing up against a wooden door and it starts to creak, like you can hear something pushing up against it. And he was like, as soon as I heard that and I saw that and I felt the cold, he's like, I said, fuck that. He's like, we're switching the rooms and we're gonna be upstairs. So that was my first encounter. I don't remember it, but and then
Mm-hmm.
apparently they sold the house because it was just too fucking much. And
Mm-hmm.
then we bought a house in Holly, Michigan, which is, I don't know if you guys have all heard of Holly, Michigan. I hope so. It's very historical. It's very famous with the Holly Hotel. Um, so we got that house. It's kind of like the outskirts of Holly, but still Holly. And it was built in 1901. So that's pretty old.
Mm-hmm.
And there was this guy. He came to our house from across the street. I don't know where the fuck he came from. It's like he walked out of the swamp or out of the woods. I don't know if he was dead or alive. But me and Kayla were little, and he comes up to the door, knocks on the door. My mom answers. She's like, "Can I help you?" And he was like, "Ma'am, or do you know what happened in this house before you moved in?" And my mom looks at both of us. I think we're about like maybe 5 or 6. And she's like, "Girls, go inside." I guess he told my mom what happened. My mom said that nothing happened. She didn't want to freak us out. And then when we got older, she told us that the guy from across the street said that before we moved in, there was a murder in our
Mm-hmm.
house. Woman caught the man cheating, killed him in his sleep. And apparently it happened in mine and Kayla's bedroom. But my mom said it happened in their bedroom, so it wouldn't freak us out. But I mean, we kind of already
Mm-hmm.
knew because our old bedroom, so there's 3 bedrooms. When you walk up the stairs, the first bedroom was like the smaller bedroom, and then down the hall was the bigger one, and then down this way was my parents' bedroom. So me and Kayla had to switch back and forth between the small and the big one. We'd fight over it, and basically I always got the small one because I'm a slob, and it looks like, my laundry exploded everywhere all the time. I could never keep my room clean, so I got the small room all the time. But the bigger bedroom is the one that was where the murder basically took place, and there was like blood
Mm-hmm.
everywhere apparently. So, and then they had to clean it up, and that was kind of fucked up because we've seen a lot of stuff in there. Like there was one time when me and my sister we were sleeping, and we had like a box fan because we grew up having like box fans, and we couldn't sleep without a fan. I still can't. And one night it tipped over, and my sister got up and she went to go pick up the fan, and she looked over because it's like when you look out of the bedroom and you look to the left, it's the hallway, and then the stairs come down this way to go downstairs. And she said that she looked up and she saw this little boy. He was about 8 years old, and he was wearing like white pajamas with like the blue stripes, like the old school PJs.
Mm-hmm.
And he looked at her and laughed and just ran down the stairs, and it freaked her out. And she got back in bed and she was like, "No, fuck that." So there was that encounter, and we would hear like glasses clinking in the middle of the night and like old like music, like classical music from like way back in the day. And it also used to be it, before it was a house, it was called the Buckhorn Tavern. So it was like it
Mm-hmm.
was a bar pretty much. People were killed. There was a lot of fights, and the cellar underneath our basement, when they tore down the tavern and they built the house over top of like they built the house over top of this cellar where they stored everything, like the
Mm-hmm.
booze and all that shit. Like they did not they built it right over top. So when you go down there, it's like all rock walls and like there's old beer bottles and stuff. Like
Mm-hmm.
shoes under the staircase, and it's just freaking creepy. So it used to be called the Buckhorn Tavern in Rose Township, which is also like kind of like an Indian type of burial ground. I have no fucking
Oh
idea.
boy.
Yeah, I mean, I'm assuming, but like Buckhorn Tavern was I can't remember. I can't even remember. I have to look up more into it. But I
Mm-hmm.
ended up going down to the city hall and looking up more on my house, and I found a picture of it before it was built. And then I had a picture of it after it was built, but I lost all that stuff, sadly.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, I have
That.
more. I have way more. I'm just crossing off the ones that I just said so I don't repeat myself.
Mm-hmm. Um, Shoot, my next experience. This one I don't remember. It's just what I was told after the fact. Same place, it was still my grandmother's house. My mom told me that, she was quite fearful. there because of the fact that it was, the spiritual energy there for whatever reason was just really high. And so she was kind of
Yeah.
fearful of that for me. And so, like, there was one night that she was praying for protection for me. And this was whenever I was a baby, basically. So we can estimate that I was under the age of 2 for sure.
Mm.
Possibly under the age of 1, even. But there was one night she was walking past my room, and she said that she like looked in, and I was asleep, um, which was very uncommon for me. I didn't sleep well as a baby at all. Um, I still don't. As an adult, I still don't. But she looks in, and she saw like this like almost angelic looking figure standing over my crib.
What?
And yeah. And so obviously I don't remember that, but it was one of the few times that I evidently was actually asleep, and she saw that, and she described it as a very peaceful feeling when she saw this, and just like had knowledge that I was okay. Um,
That's creepy.
but I mean, there was stuff like that that happened all the time as a kid. Um, Unlike that time, it wasn't always positive. My next, like, that I remember, my next story, I would have been maybe 8.
8?
Yeah, I would have been
Yeah.
about 8, maybe 9. Um, Different things had happened in the house. Like, there was traditional, like, knocking, scratching, all that. Um, but this time I was in my room, which was the middle bedroom.
Yeah.
It's the smallest of the 3. I was in my room, and it was nighttime, probably about 9:30 or 10 at night. And oh my gosh, I'm already getting a time limit warning from Zoom. We have 10
How?
minutes. We may have to record a part 2.
Oh, yeah.
This kicks us off. But anywho, so I was trying to go to sleep, and I just had this feeling that I was being stared at. And so I looked, and there was just
Unpleasant.
massive shadow in the doorway. I mean, it literally was to the top of the doorway, and it was as wide as the doorway. And I mean, it was terrifying to see.
That's
Uh,
creepy.
yeah, and just the feeling, like, there was a feeling of dread
Being
whenever
watched.
I saw it. Like, it felt like, it felt like that I was almost trapped in a way.
Were
So
you asleep or were you awake?
no, I was awake.
Okay.
Um, I went into my mom's room at that time, which was the same room from my first story, where I saw the shadow in there. I went to that room, and
So you
I
go into the room where you first saw it.
well, I mean, it was her room. I felt
Yeah, you
somewhat
felt safe.
safe. But I told her what I saw, and um, she was like, "All right, well, I'll sleep in the recliner. You sleep in the bed. That way, we can get some rest and wake up, and everything will be fine."
Right.
Um, she ended up going out of the room for a moment, and probably about a minute or 2 had passed, and I heard a sound behind me. I was already laying in bed, um, and like the head of the bed was basically right next to the doorway, and it sounded like a tap on the door. And I thought, well, she's coming back into the room. So I turned and I looked, and I swear, clear as day, the scariest thing I've ever seen in my entire life. I
Okay,
saw
what is it?
a figure, head to toe in cloaks, it only came up to like the doorknob,
Hmm.
and it was just like I can't explain it other than it was absolutely menacing.
Yeah.
And then my mom did come back in, and I swear to God, the moment she walked by it, it was gone, visually speaking, at least. And
Did
from
it
that
look
moment
familiar at
forward,
all? Like you like it, did it look familiar or just like
no, it
creepy?
just honestly, like I thought, oh, well, that must be like a shirt that was left on the doorknob. Um,
Hmm.
it wasn't, but that was my first inclination was or hope was that that's what it was. But from that moment forward, like once it disappeared, I literally froze. I
Yeah.
physically could not move. Like I tried, I couldn't move. It was like my tongue was tied. Shout out to tongue tied. Um, I could not speak. I
That's
could not
scary.
move. And it was like there was this incredible weight on my chest that felt
That's
like
why
I
I
was
was asking if you
crushed.
were awake or not, or if you were asleep,
Mhm.
because it sounds like sleep paralysis almost.
At that point, an argument could be made that it could have become sleep paralysis. Up
Yeah.
until that point, though, I was 100% awake. But like here, I literally felt like that I was being physically attacked. Like I had that pressure on my chest. I felt like I was being clawed at and scratched at. It literally felt like an actual attack, as if somebody physically was attacking. And it lasted the entire night. I could not move the entire night. I could not speak the entire night. I tried everything in my power and I was unable to. So finally, the sun starts to come out, and I felt like whatever had been over me had lifted. And so I was finally able to get my mom's attention and tell her everything that happened. And, um, she had no idea whatsoever. She had
Did she believe in that stuff, or like did she believe you, or
she believed me. Um,
good?
she was a very um she was a very spiritually inclined woman.
Hmm.
Very, very devout in her beliefs, absolutely, but she still was very open to the idea of spirituality as well.
Yeah.
And, she herself had experienced something quite similar to that in the same house. Um,
Really?
and so, like, she did not, there was never a point where she was like, well, that wasn't real. Um,
Yeah. Like she didn't
yeah,
like not believe you.
right. So that was the first like big event that I remember as far as anything spiritual um, happening, and it still is something that I almost have nightmares about to this day. Just because I was vulnerable, I felt trapped. I literally was in a way. I couldn't move, and yeah, it just that has stayed with me to this day.
That
Um,
reminds me of my next encounter that I'll share when you're finished. Basically, the way that you told yours, it sounded and reminded me so much of sleep paralysis because I've actually experienced that many times. Um, my first experience with it, I was spending the night at a girlfriend's house when I was 14. And I was laying on my stomach. But this was after we went to Lakeside Cemetery, which is a graveyard in Holly. Um, so we were walking through the graveyard, and I was just being a stupid teenager, and I saw a tombstone, and the last name was Whore, and I started making fun of it, and a black crow landed right on it, and I instantly felt like really eerie and just like we got to get the fuck out of here. So we started running through like the back of the cemetery, and we hopped over the fence and got out of there. And my friend Danielle was like, "Courtney, oh my God, your neck!" And I was like, "What?" and I had fucking claw marks, like nail marks, like something was trying to get me around my neck. So then later that night, we went to go to sleep, and I was laying on my stomach, and I remember I didn't wake up, but I do remember having this visual of seeing myself from the bird's eye view, and I was looking down at myself, and I could like hear like the blood flowing through my veins. I can hear it on stereo, like inside of my head. And like I could see myself laying on my stomach, the position I fell asleep in, and I couldn't move, I couldn't talk, I couldn't yell, I couldn't scream, I couldn't do anything. And it was fucking terrifying. And then that was my first encounter. After that, I had a lot of experiences with sleep paralysis. I still get it, and it's fucking scary. So there was this one time, I think it was back in 2018 after I broke up with one of my exes, moved in with my parents and went back to my old bedroom. And I was laying there one night getting ready for bed. And when I would stay at my parents' house, like I would have the light turned on, the TV on. I ended up having the light off, but the TV was on. And I was laying on my back and I was falling asleep. And I started to kind of feel like myself slip into the paralysis state again. Like I couldn't move, I couldn't talk, I couldn't yell for help, I couldn't like say anything, I couldn't do anything. And then I felt like, so basically when you have sleep paralysis, it's like there's like a dark figure in the room with you. That's what it feels like.
Hmm.
So that's what I felt. And I felt like it was like hovering over top of me and I could feel it like pushing down on both of my hips. And I was like, what the fuck? I couldn't move. And it was like pushing me down in the bed.
Hmm.
The next day when I woke up, I had a bruise on each hip.
Ooh.
Yeah. And I was like, that's not a coincidence. That's fucked up. So I went to work and then I tried falling asleep the next night and it started to happen again. And I said, fuck that. Packed all of my stuff and I moved out in the middle of the night. My mom texted me. She's like, you moved out in the middle of the night. Would you see a ghost? LOL. I'm like, yeah,
Hmm.
never. I hate that house is so freaking evil. I feel like it's just dark. But that I moved out in the middle of the night. There was no going back. And then I ended up getting my own place and then started playing with Ouija board. So, but we'll get into that one other time. Trying to make it
Hmm.
less scarier and then scarier as we go.
Hmm.
So, and then, oh yeah, did I tell you about the well under my parents' front porch?
Uh-uh.
Okay, so when it was the Buckhorn Tavern back in the day or whatever, so there's like, they have like wells and shit where whatever. So the front porch is like this big cement slab piece when we first got the house. And it was like a built-in like front porch, like an enclosed front porch. Um, and there was like this like metal or steel slab that was like covering this hole, and we didn't know what it was. And Kayla and I were like maybe 5. And my dad pulled it aside and it turned out to be a well. So we were dropping shit down there and it was pretty fucking deep. So he had to
Hmm.
like bolt it down and then he ended up tearing down the front porch and actually like rebuilding the entire thing and he built a deck like right over top of it. So, because it was like really hazardous. Like, why is that
Hmm.
there? How many body parts are down there?
Right.
How many bones? How many human bones are down there? That's creepy. That's what I want to know is what the fuck is down there?
Hmm.
Because whatever's down there might be the reason why it's so damn haunted.
Yeah.
So, and usually back in the day, I don't know if it's true or not, but I read up on it, or it could just, I don't know, people just dump body parts down wells.
Hmm.
So, where was my next one at? Ooh, this one's creepy.
Oh
So,
my.
yeah, the pictures that I sent you of my parents' living room. So, like, basically, me and my dad were sitting at the computer one night, and this is when YouTube kind of like first came out because before YouTube, we were on this site called stupidvideos.com. So it was kind of like YouTube.
Hmm.
Um, but then we got YouTube and we were watching like funny cat videos or whatever. My mom is obsessed with cat videos and thinks they're hilarious. So we found this one and we were sitting at the computer. And the way we were sitting, we were actually able to look into the dining room, which is where those double doors are. And then to the left of that is the stairwell that goes upstairs. And then through the dining room into that other opening is the kitchen. So
Hmm.
we were watching these videos, and my dad's like, we got to show your mom. This is fucking hilarious. I'm like, I know. So then we see my mom come down. Well, we hear her coming down the stairs, and she's going into the kitchen. And I was like, Mom, come here, come look at this. And he's like, Corey, come here. And my dad wasn't looking when I saw this. She turned around, and all that was there, it was her face, but instead of her eyes and mouth, they were black holes.
Oh no.
Yeah. And my dad said, go get her. And I was like, He's like, go get her. I'm like,
Mhm.
no, I'm good. No, I'm good. He's like, go get your mom. And I was like, fine. So I got up, went into the kitchen, and I came back, and my dad said my eyes were like this big. And he's like, what? What's up? And I'm like, Mom's not in there. Mom's not in the kitchen. Because I already
Mhm.
knew that wasn't her. Like something mirrored her. That's
Mhm.
what's fucked up. So we went upstairs. My mom was in bed, passed out. So
Mhm.
that was one of the other creepiest things that's ever happened. And that was like something I will never, ever forget because it was not my mom, not my mom at all.
Mhm.
So fuck that. I don't know there might be more about my parents' house, but nothing I can think of yet.
My mom had a mimic story.
Ooh.
Hers though was not it didn't happen directly to her. Um, at least the scary part.
Yeah.
But so her and one of my aunts played with a Ouija board in
Mm.
a cemetery.
Okay, we're Ouija boarding it now. Okay. Ah, yeah.
And my mom said that the planchette moved on its own.
I believe it.
And so they noped out of there, right?
Yeah.
Um, my aunt goes home and she lived in like a fucking cabin in the middle of the
Fucking
woods.
cabin.
Yeah,
Not just a cabin, a fucking cabin.
yeah, exactly. There's a difference.
Oh,
Um, but so she goes home, my mom goes home, and from there the creepy shit happened to my aunt. She at that time only had two kids, and she heard someone call her name from outside. Now, keep in mind, a cabin in the woods, a fucking cabin in the woods,
oh my.
um, a lot of woods.
Yeah,
Um,
a cabin too.
mhm,
Yeah, if it's a cabin in the woods, you got extra wood because that cabin's made out of wood.
mhm. So she goes outside
What time
to,
was this though?
I don't recall my mom saying a specific time, but it was later that night.
Yeah, fuck that. Was it dark?
That I don't know.
Why
Um,
is my end look so delayed? I'm blinking, but one eye is blinking at a different time, so I look kind of like, maybe that's
um,
just my end. I don't know. It's funny though.
yeah, it
Anyways,
looks fine on my end.
that's
Um,
good.
but she goes out into the, or rather onto her like front porch area, and she's still like someone is calling her name, and they're in the woods. And so her thought process is, you
Skinwalker.
know, somebody needs help. So she goes into the woods and she continues to hear her name being called. And she goes further into the woods, further into the woods. The voice calling her name, still, like, no matter how close that she gets to it, it sounds like it's further and further away. And
That's
then it,
trying to
like,
trying to lure her.
mhm.
That's scary.
And then it hits her like, oh my God, I've just left my two young kids in the house alone. And so she races back to her house and that's pretty much that. I remember being there as a kid myself. Excuse me. Um, I yawned.
I know,
um,
I figured I wasn't
but
looking because I know it would have been contagious.
yep. But
Shit,
I
don't do it.
remember being there as a kid and always kind of feeling unnerved whenever I was there. Not because of her, not because of like anybody that was present. I got along with my cousins well. I got along with her well, her husband. Um, it was just always an eerie atmosphere. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, that was one of the stories that my mom told me. Um, and a large part of why I have never actually used a Ouija board myself.
Don't ever. I'm telling you what. And especially like people will go out and buy those and it's like cool, but like if you make it yourself, which in my case I did,
Mm-hmm.
it's even more it's got I don't know, it's stronger when you make it yourself. So what I did was I took a cardboard box and I cut out like the side and then I
Mm-hmm.
looked up the Ouija board on Google, took a Sharpie and I actually like made one myself. And then where's my water bottle? Do I have one? Fuck. No, I don't. Anyways, so I took a water bottle for the planchette piece, turned it
Mm-hmm.
upside down, and like where the first crease is on the bottom of the water bottle, I cut it out evenly all the way around because the
Mm-hmm.
shot glass was too heavy and other objects were too heavy, and it was just like not working. So like I did that, and I was living alone. Actually, this was back in 2018. I had my own apartment, um, and made this board, and I would play with this board by my fucking self, dumbass. And I actually had a friend over. I'm not going to say his name, but like I had a friend over because he's never experienced the Ouija board. And he's like, I want to learn I want to see what it's like. And I'm like, okay. So we were
Mm-hmm.
sitting there. We had a candle lit on each side of the board. We were sitting across from each other. We had our fingers on the planchette. We were asking it questions or whatever. And it started to do the figure eight bullshit. Like he took his hands off the planchette and I had mine barely lifted off of it. And the entire board just decided to shift and like move across the floor by itself. Candles were flickering off, like almost blowing out. And we were like, dude, what the hell? And like it started, we asked who it was, and it started doing figure eights again. And I'm like, oh my God, that's fucked up. And it started to spell out Z-O, Z-O, and it started going crazy with it. And I'm like, I just said goodbye, goodbye, goodbye. And it refused to go to goodbye. It went to no. And then the planchette like flew off the board,
Mm-hmm.
pretty much. So, and then we played with it a few more times. There's a few more stories, but I'm not sure if they're appropriate to share yet. Um, But when I moved out, I ended up just taking the Ouija board. I never closed it either because it wouldn't let me. So didn't get the chance to close the damn board. So when I moved out, I'm like, I ain't taking this fucking thing with me. I put it on top of the refrigerator and I left it there.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, sorry, landlord. I don't know if he knows it's there or not, but it's like way up top on top of the fridge. I don't
Mm-hmm.
know if he knows. But and there was another time too. This was actually a very mean prank when I made a Ouija board back in 2014 when I lived with my friend Amanda.
Mm-hmm.
Me and my friend Leah were playing with the Ouija board, and my friend Amanda's dog, my roommate at the time, her dog was like freaking out and like getting like like pissed off and scared and like growling or whatever because me and Leah were in the closet and Amanda was there just to kind of hang out and watch. So I ended up throwing it away in the dumpster, and then I had a king size blow up mattress at that time, and I was rolling up the mattress because I had just got a brand new bed. And when I rolled it up, the fucking board was underneath my mattress, covered in garbage. I was freaking out. I ran and told Amanda,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like crying. I was hysterical because I was so fucking scared. And then she just like kind of was going along with it. And then she finally told me that Leah dumpster dove to get the bitch out of the trash to prank
Mm-hmm.
me and put it under my mattress. I was so furious with her. And she's like, do you want a turkey burger? I'm like, no, fuck your turkey burgers. I don't want anything. So
Um,
that was like the mean prank of it, but it fucking works. Like it's not that it works, but it's
it's
real.
real.
It's
Mm-hmm.
real and shit, and it's not anything I advise anybody to mess with.
Hey everyone, this is just a little editor's note here. So I knew that I was going to end up making this video. What is about to happen, it's not necessarily like scary, but it's just odd that this would happen while we're talking about paranormal stuff and, specifically after talking about the Ouija board. It's very strange that this would happen. I'm not going to claim it as evidence because, as I have said in this episode, I like to look at things skeptically. So, not claiming it as evidence, but just claiming it as very strange that it would happen to occur at this time during this topic. So, I'm not going to take up any more of your time. Let's get back to the podcast.
Like, even if you're
Uh-oh. We may have lost Courtney.
there, you are. Where'd you
Yeah,
go?
you froze.
So did you. Well, you
Uh-oh.
disappeared.
But yes. Oh, I think you froze again. Oh, this is weird. This is so weird that we're talking about ghost stories and fucking Ouija boards and it's freezing. It's starting like that's weird. Oh man, I don't know if it's visible. I'm getting goosebumps because like I don't have issues like that on Zoom usually.
What, goosebumps?
No. I don't usually have issues on Zoom where it's like just randomly freezing. Um, so
Did I
the
did I
fact
say that did I pronounce the name that it was spelling on the board, or did I just spell it out, or did I pronounce it?
you spelled it out.
Okay.
But y'all, this is kind of creepy at this point. The fact that we're talking about ghost stories and talking about Ouija boards and shit, and now we're having some
When you
technical
speak about it,
difficulties.
you're opening a door.
Hmm? Yeah,
So when you
talking about it, especially in the manner that we are, definitely is, something to be cautious of. Um,
Yeah,
in our case, we're just going to keep talking anyway because fuck that.
we don't give a fuck. We're more
Um,
powerful. So anyway,
Also,
um,
I don't know if it's going to show up on video or not, but your face is glitching hardcore, or it was. It was
stop.
like it was kind of shifting a little bit, like um.
What the fuck?
What's the movie? Oh my gosh!
Holy shit. Yeah.
But
I guess if you say its name out loud, it gives it power. But I spelt it, and look what happened.
mhm.
Imagine if I said it out loud.
Please don't.
Eh. I mean, it's just Zozo. It won't hurt us.
Oh Jesus Christ!
He
Oh
can't. Yeah, I
man.
don't think he can save you. But I mean, yeah. So yeah, just if you ever somehow accidentally summon the Ouija board demon named Zozo, fucking get the fuck out of there. Close that shit. Don't ever touch it. Do not burn the board either, people. That's like the one thing you never want to do is burn it because that's releasing it.
Mhm.
The best way to
This is
dispose of one, huh?
I was gonna say this is an actual like tip that was
Yeah.
taught to me. Um, if you need to dispose of a Ouija board, now I've never, like I said, I've never used a Ouija board myself, so I'm not speaking from experience. I am only telling you what I was told. Um, you cannot destroy it by fire. What you want to do is you want to submerge it in water.
Really?
There was somebody who like they tried to burn it in their fireplace and it wouldn't burn. And so they were told to submerge it in water and what they had to do, or at least what they perceived that they had to do. Because to me, the more logical choice is to dump it in an ocean or dump it in a lake somewhere. But what they did, at least at first, they may have changed it eventually, but they like put it in their pool, covered it in a tarp,
I
and
would
then
never
put
swim in
a
that
heavy
fucking
object.
pool again.
Well, no, it was like one of the like kid pools that you can buy at Walmart for like
Oh, the little
20 bucks or
round kiddie
whatever.
pool.
Yeah. So it was just one of those, one they didn't even use. Um, they covered it in like a tarp and then put a heavy chair on top of it. Um, Now, whether that actually works or not, I've never put to the test. I've never owned a Ouija board. So do with that information what you will. That's just what I was told.
Yeah,
Um,
I've never heard of that technique. I mean, I wish I would have probably used that one with one out of the 10 boards I made in my lifetime.
mhm,
Don't ask. I'm just very curious when it comes to the spiritual realm, and it's stupid. So, like, what I did, because setting it on fire is the dumbest thing to do because you're releasing it.
mhm.
I guess what you're supposed to do, what I read up on too, is you have to, like, gift it to somebody to get rid of it, which why would you want to do that? So the other thing I did,
Mhm,
instead of gifting it to somebody, because I'm not gonna do that. That's just fucking mean. Um, I wouldn't even wish it on my worst enemy. So what I did was me and my ex actually, because we both played with the Ouija board too. We took it. This was probably one of the other ones that I made, and we took it because it freaked us out, and a
mhm,
lot of shit happened after that. Oh my God. So we ended up taking it and we cut it up into 7 parts, and we drove through like a cornfield, not through the cornfield itself, but down the road with
mhm.
cornfields.
Right.
And we were taking it and throwing pieces out left and right.
Mhm.
So, and that's, what we had to do with that.
Is there a
So,
reason that you did seven? Or
did
was
we
that
just
just
looked it
coincidence?
up? We looked it up and it said 7 pieces, but I don't know why. I can't really remember that far back. I'm gonna actually look that up too.
I
Um,
know that there's like at least for people who observe numerology, seven is considered a more like I guess holy number.
like an
Like
angel number.
yeah, basically. From what
Mhm.
I understand. Now, I admittedly don't understand anything about that, so it's worth researching just to confirm because I may be full of shit. Um,
I think that's definitely something I'm gonna research for sure.
but
Yeah. Don't ever mess with the Ouija board, no matter how tempted you are. Do not. And do not make your own
mhm,
because it is more intense. And if you ever do decide to be like, super curious and whatever, call me and I'll be there.
mhm.
Oh my
The
God.
the only thing that I've ever like dabbled in as far as like um quote unquote ghost communication is I've tried to record like EVPs and whatnot.
See, I've been trying to find apps for that because I
There
did ghost
is I
hunting at
was
Holly Hotel.
That's actually a segue into what I was gonna say. There is an app that I have found to be based off of my understanding, it's very accurate and reliable. On the Play Store,
What's it called?
you can search Necrometer and it'll pop up. Um, I'll show you what it looks like. So this is the Necrometer app. Um, it's got the logo up here, which is kind of blocked by the sun behind me.
Hmm.
It has like a moth here, which is
Is it, do
just
you have to pay for it or like subscribe to it or is it a free app?
it's 9.99. Um, but the cool thing about this one is that it has an actual like um EMF reader. So if you put it up to
Hmm.
electronics, it'll spike. Um, like if I hold it away from my computer, it reads right around like 40. 40 UT is what it says. But then if I hold it closer to my computer,
Hmm.
it goes up to 50. Um, so I thought that that was really cool. Just the fact that they advertise it as like this will detect electromagnetic pulses. It's like how can you build an app that does that into your phone, right?
Right.
But it actually, like whenever you move it towards anything electronic, it spikes.
Yeah. So that's kind of
Um,
like, ugh, unless it's not
right.
electronic, you're fucked.
I wish that it would be visible. I don't know if it is, but it just like whenever I said that, it was not by my computer and it spiked up to 70 just out of nowhere. Now,
Uh-oh.
oh my God.
What?
Now every time I hold it up to the computer, it goes back down. But it went up to 80 whenever I said that. Um, so anyway, another cool thing
Uh-oh.
about it, because this is more of like a you can either it's more of like a ghost box, right?
Yeah.
Uh, so you can either put it to speech where like it's like a traditional ghost box where you get like corrupted radio signals that may or may not spit out a decipherable word, or you can slide it over to text and
Hmm.
you'll be able to read it instead of
Like
just
have it
hearing.
translated like into words so that we can
Yes.
actually read it. I might look into that app.
I I have dabbled in it just a little bit. I try to be careful of that because obviously whenever you do that, it can open up doors.
I mean,
And
that's what we're doing right now, pretty much by talking about it.
mm, so
We
you
just got to
have to
be
be
prepared.
you have to be careful and you have to like guard yourself and know what you're doing.
Hmm.
But I have dabbled in this and I am a lifelong skeptic. Even after everything I've been through, I like to look at everything through the lens of skepticism just because
Hmm.
there are so many cases of things, events being faked. And
Yep.
so I always try to be skeptical. But this app, like, there's been times whenever I would be in a spot that I knew had some kind of spiritual significance, um, or where something tragic happened. And
That's
I would
creepy.
ask a direct question and get a direct answer. Now, you could say coincidence, and it would be hard to argue with that, but whenever it happens so much, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah, then it's
it
not a
becomes
coincidence after a while.
it becomes very hard to buy into that argument whenever it continuously is giving direct answers. Like for example,
That's freaky.
if you're like, what is your name? And it says coffee. No one's named coffee. That's a random signal that happened to translate. Probably means nothing. But what is your name? Courtney. You know what I mean? Like that,
Yeah.
that's a direct answer.
That is,
Um, it's something that if you do like actually look into that app, um,
I'm
you know,
going to
and
now.
this is more of a caution for any of the viewers who might be interested in that. Just to exercise caution and
Yeah.
make sure that you protect
Use with
yourself.
caution.
Don't don't be an idiot.
Yeah, I mean,
um,
if you're downloading it, it's kind of an idiotic thing to do because you know it's going to open a door, but you're like,
mhm,
YOLO.
mhm. You gotta be cautious. Don't.
Hmm.
My biggest advice is just don't use it for nefarious reasons. um,
Yeah.
intent matters a lot, and that's my advice. But I think that we have time for one more ghost story before Zoom kicks us off again. Um, was it who was the last one to give a ghost story? Was it me or was it you?
I think it was you because I was going to get into um when I was ghost hunting at Holly Hotel.
Hmm.
So I have time to say or to do that one before I have to go pick up Luna from school.
Hmm.
So
According
every
to Zoom, we have 9 minutes. According to, well, I don't know what time you have to leave, but
well, I can leave right after this. Well, whenever it's done.
okay.
So every year in October, the Holly Hotel, I don't think they don't do it anymore because I think they closed the Holly Hotel down. I'm pretty fucking sure, and I'm pretty pissed about it.
Mhm.
So every year they would host like seances, in October, like Halloween time, they would host like seances, and then they had a ghost hunt one year. me and my sister and two other friends, Ashley and I think I can't remember her name. Anyway, so the four of us went there and we were able to go upstairs to like the different floors and we had like all of these fucking gadgets and everything. And I don't know what these are called, so don't judge me or make fun of me. So they're two sticks that you hold up and then they cross.
Oh, the fucking dowsing rods.
Yes. So that was my favorite. So I had those and we ended up in the attic of the Holly Hotel.
Mm-hmm.
And um our instructor told us like basically like don't go off the trail because you can fall through all the fucking stories of the building, la di da. So we went up there and it was me and my sister and Ashley because we did turn around and we were like, "Where's so and so?" She was gone. So we didn't know where the fuck she went. She disappeared. We didn't see her all night. So then when we were up in the attic, I had those stick thingies and it was me and my sister and our friend Ashley and they were like moving or whatever. And I was like, I wonder if I could piss it off. And I said, I don't remember what I said. I think I called it stupid. And these prongs just went like back and forth like crazy. My sister and Ashley took off screaming and running and just fucking left me there. And I'm like, okay, yeah, just leave me with it. Like that. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So the next day we ended up getting a hold of our other girlfriend that, was just missing. And she said that she saw something in that hotel that night that completely freaked her out and she turned around and left and never came back. But
Mm-hmm.
she still to this day will not tell us what it was because it freaked her
Jesus.
out so bad. Yeah. So yeah, I've been a part of a couple ghost hunts in the Holly Hotel and a few seances too, which I think the seances might have been possibly rigged. Maybe I don't know, but the ghost hunting one was not because I could feel it
Mm-hmm.
and it was fucking terrifying.
Yeah.
So, but it's also super fun and a super cool experience. Like, I want to do more of that stuff, like, go on ghost hunts and shit.
Mm-hmm.
So, which,
Hey, you guys watching this? Let us know if you want us to do a podcast where we actually do a ghost hunt.
that would be so cool.
We'll
Where
do
would we
it.
go hunt though?
That's a good question.
Holly?
I mean, I would travel up to Michigan.
Yeah, it's no, I'm ignoring that call. Don't know who you are. Yeah, the Holly, I don't know if I'm gonna have to like research Holly more because there was um another store next to the hotel. It was called Arcade Antiques,
Mm-hmm.
antique shop or whatever down Battle Alley in downtown Holly. And I think ghost hunters went there and they had to do an exorcism on the store because employees were reporting objects being thrown at them off the shelves and all this shit. And it was like, terrifying them and they were actually like starting to get hurt. So I think that antique shop is closed down now too.
Mm-hmm.
Um, which sucks because that was one of my favorite ones. And yeah, I'm gonna have to look into that.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'm gonna write down more for the next part.
Yes, we definitely have to do a part two because I feel like we both have a ton of stories we didn't even tap into yet. So,
Uh-huh.
everybody, give us feedback. Let us know what your favorite story was, what story scared you the most. We will do a part two
Or
to
if you have
this series.
questions too for us to answer, feel
Yes,
free to ask away.
drop questions for us. Ask about stories, about, well, anything you want, really. Um, and definitely keep an eye out for part two because this is just the tip of the iceberg. We have a lot to talk about the next episode. We're even going to read some uh, user submitted stories. People who either commented on my Facebook post or messaged me after it, who have agreed to have their stories read. We're going to do that. We're going to talk more about our own stories. And
Ooh, and then we got
um,
to share the one picture of the ghost in one of my photos that I took.
mhm, definitely, we can put that either in the end of this one or in the next one, whenever we talk about that specific story. Um, but yeah, this has been a fun episode. I hope that you all enjoyed it. And Courtney, do you have any final words for the viewers?
Any last words?
Any last words?
Fatality. I don't have any last words, actually.
Fatality. That's our last word. Fatality.
Now I want to go play Mortal Kombat.
Right?
Yeah.
But we hope that you guys had a fun time watching this video, and we'll see you in the next one.
Yeah. I'm excited.